Good morning. I'm your host, Fred Ellis, on your pottery adventure. This is Something Southern Pottery. We want to welcome you and hope that you have an enjoyable experience with your pottery. There's Jalen busy at her wheel making pots. Here's Laura, she's sitting in her area decorating the pots. Good morning and welcome back to Something Southern Pottery. I'm glad that you joined us. If you haven't seen our other videos, take a look at them. You can find them listed on our website. We have a Facebook page. We have other social mediums, so check us out. If you're watching this, be sure and like us. That helps. Also, we appreciate a follower, so if you decide to follow us, please hang on. This morning I'm going to be making some lidded jars. I'm going to be starting with about 2 pounds of clay. I know a lot of videos, they never say how much, and I wonder how much clay they use to make something. Now, that's not an amount that anybody knows about, or there's no particular formula for making it. It's just what I use to make these. This little maneuver here, all that does is make a nice concave surface on the bottom. Doesn't trap any air when you put it on the wheel. So we'll just start. As you notice, I'm coning up a few times. I don't do that with every pot I make, but I try to do it with most anything that's over 1 pound. And the reason is coning up helps make the clay homogeneous. In other words, it mixes all the water around and tries to get everything equalized. Once I get it equal, I just flatten it out and open to the width that I want. I try and equalize the depth of my bottom, how thick it is. Several schools of thought on that. Old-time potters, all they worried about was getting the bottoms even. Newer people, with all the science that's been done in it, they talk about lining up clay particles and one thing and another. I just try to make it smooth and even. And on a cylinder of any kind, whether it's a mug or like we're making just lidded jars today, I leave an indentation in the bottom that shows the finger marks. Don't know why I did it, just that's the way I do anything that has a bottom like that. And I try to get my wall as even as possible. Keep it going in. I used to worry about trying to make all pots look exactly alike, and then I decided that I didn't want clones. I do want you to be able to recognize what they are and take a look at them and look at that work and say, oh, that's I know the potter that made that. So I want them to look like they're in the same family. But it's like being cousins in the family instead of identical twins. I just eyeball it. Like I always say, anything I do is not right or wrong. It's just what I do. Get me a rib now. I'm going to kind of even up the outside. Smooth it out, get it to the width I want it. Get some of the water out of the inside that's come off my fingers in the throwing process. Slope the wheel head down a little bit for the final pull. Even this up a little more. Finish off up here. Make a little indentation there. Set the rim, finish cleaning that out inside, get the rest of the water out. You don't want to leave any water. You guys have pottery experience. And if you don't want to leave any water in, it'll dissolve your bottom. So you kind of clean it up as much as possible. We're ready to set that one aside now. As you notice, I use bats to throw on. A system, a potter friend of mine named Stephen Jepson. I took a course from him about, almost 30 years ago now. He had what he called World Pottery Institute down in Geneva, Florida. And I took a 2-week course from him one time. He offered 1 week and 2 weeks. And I said, well, I want to immerse myself, so I took 2 weeks. And used to go back to him every every year practically and buy more bats. I didn't think, I was like most potters. I had read enough to know that potters just hated having the stuff in their studios. Plaster was a no-no around pots, and the reason is if you get it in your pottery and put it in the kiln, it'll explode. It'll have blowouts on your pots, and that's what people didn't want. I've never had any blowouts because of it. I didn't think I would like throwing on this system, but it's the easiest system I've found. Over the years, I've accumulated them. They're getting a little worn now. Clay is an abrasive. Most of it has sand or grog, which is a form of, has silica in it, which is sand. And if you'll take a little water and grind it long enough, you can grind things away. I'm gonna make another cylinder for you. Get it centered. Open the bottom to the desired width. Most potters nowadays out of schools and things call this compressing the bottom. Like I said, old time potters. And the reason I know that is I have talked to some of the old time families in Georgia. There's a family over in Gillsville, still runs a pottery. They're probably, when I was going over to see them regular or see them some, they were 5th generation then. You could find them listed in a book, one I read early, and about old time potters in Georgia. It's called Brothers in Clay. It was written by a fellow that I think he taught at the University of Georgia, but whether he did or not, I can't think of his name right now. That comes with old age. Those old time potters, they didn't worry about compressing the bottoms. All they were trying to do was get them even. Most of them that were professional potters used a tool called a ball opener. And it was a knob on a stick, plank, whatever you want to call it, board, that was anchored to the side of the wheel, and it dropped down in and hit the or block that they had there, whatever, and it opened to the same depth every time. And that's all they were doing. They just opened it to that depth, move it to the width they wanted their pot to be. Most of them didn't throw by the pot or anything, they threw by the gallon. If you were throwing 1 gallon jugs, you got X number of pennies for every gallon you threw. If you were throwing a crock or a churn, you got paid by the gallons. If it was a 3 or a 6 I think some of them even made 10-gallon churns, but that was a heck of a size for something. But some of the old time potters were itinerant potters. They didn't own potteries. That's what they did for a living, and they'd go to a farm or area of farmers. And a farmer or businessman might own a pottery. And the reason he usually had a pottery is because he had some clay on his land, and he had enough money to build a kiln. Kilns were not inexpensive. They took time, effort, money to build, and he might never make a pot, might never do anything like it, but he hired potters, and these itinerant potters would go from area to area. Before that, before Civil War and back in the antebellum South, I don't know about up north, but back in the antebellum South, they taught slaves to make pots, and that was what they did. That was their job. They wouldn't teach their slaves to read, but they'd teach them how to make pots because they could make money for them. That was the idea, I think. Making money usually is. One of the most famous is, and I've seen some of his work in a museum up in Suches, Georgia. I believe that's the name of it, is Suches. Anyway, they've got some of Dave's work on exhibit up there. It's just outside of a tourist area called Helen. If you're interested in looking it up or going to see it, and I would recommend you do if you're interested in pottery, be good to know some of the things. When I first started making pottery, I couldn't get enough books. I couldn't talk to enough potters. And that was when I was still trying to get a wall up on a pot. It was so interesting to me. I just had to know more about it. Now, I've got, as you can see, I've got a couple over here that are started on this face. I'll probably make about 8 or 10. We're going to put some lids on them today. I'll talk through as we make some lids. It's been a while since I've made lids, so we'll do this and see if we can make these come out right. Now, that's about, the jars are made with about 2 pounds of clay, and the lids are going to be about half a pound. I'm thinking that's what I'm going to start with and see how it works out. I'm going to make a very simple lid. It's just kind of an upside down bowl with a double rim that fits the jar. I'm not going to make a gallery for it to sit on. I'm just going to use the top of the pot where it finishes off and just use it to sit down inside and outside of it. And we'll put a knob on it with making a lid. We've got the material made up. Like I said, it's about a half a pound of the same clay. Use the same process to start here. I like to have that concave or convex top rounded so it's nice and smooth so I don't trap any air under the head of my wheel. So let's see what happens. First of all, as usual, anything on the wheel starts off with centering. Centering seems to be a difficult process for all of us to learn. It's actually pretty simple. All you're doing is putting the clay in the center of the wheel head. When you put it down on there in your lump, ball, I call it ball, whatever size it is, remember this. You only have to center the outside of it. The rest of it's already on the wheel, and hopefully you set it down in the center of it. So think about that. You don't have to move the whole ball of clay, just the outside. Once it gets nice and smooth and your fingers aren't jumping, then you can open up the ball however much you want to. I'm going to open up about like that. Come out and see what we've got here. Now I'm going to use another tool called a caliper. Old time potters used to have a stick or a piece of, they might have, I doubt if they had tape measures or any kind of measuring device, but they used a stick and would get it to the size they want. Now we've got these fancy calipers that work. You put them inside here, get them to your size of your pot. Now the outside, you measure there. So I know I've got it wide enough to now make my lid. Okay, so I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna push down on this outside. These on the inside. Then I stop and measure it. You can see it's a little small, so now all I have to do is open that out to the right size. Check it again. Real close. Now, by the time these dry a little bit, this particular clay will shrink somewhere between 10 to 13%. I'm using a clay called B-Mix. We've got the first one done. We'll set it aside now. I'm beginning to run out of room. All right, and we keep it with its pot because it's made specifically for that pot. So let's get this one now and make a lid for it. Barely had to move that. So now what I want is the rim. I make a rim and a little lip. The lip will fit just inside this, and then the rim will set down on the pot. Like I said, these are 1/2 pound made out of the same clay that we're using to make the pots themselves. I'm not trying, this is not a instructional video. I'm not trying to teach you how to throw or anything. I'm just showing you a particular pot, how I make it. Let's see if we can make just get it centered. Open it up. Pull it out to where you think you want to form the lip for it. Measure it. I've still got a little bit more to go. So what I do is just pull this out a little bit more. Now these lids, once they get to leather hard and they're still sitting on this, I'll measure again and I'll make sure they're correct, and they'll be soft enough for me to either move them or carve it and get the exact size and size these things. So we'll cover that later. That's right at the maximum, so we're going to set that one aside with its pot. All right. I won't bore you with those. We'll do the rest of these. We'll make lids for all of them. And I will see you back when we get ready to take the lids off here in a little while. Y'all have a good evening. Please like the videos. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook. Check out our website. And we will see you next time. Thank you. This is Fred Ellis for Something Southern. Good day.